What is going on, my fellow geeks?
3 movies with elves and a guy with a white beard.
Not a lot of people accept it as canon.
2022 will be the year of Star Wars.
Well, I have more than just one piece of geek news.
I have been Isaac Hunter.
Which is like high culture, but better.
Hello, fellow geeks, and welcome back to another episode of Raving Geeks, the weekly pop culture podcast where we talk about all things geeky and geek culture, which is like high culture, but better. My name is Hope Gooderl, host of the Raving Geeks podcast, along with my co-host, who will introduce himself in a minute with our question of the week. If you're just joining us for the first time and you happen to like this episode and want to check out more, you can check out our other episodes at cm-life.com and any other place that you listen to podcasts like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Just search Central Michigan Life Podcasts, Raving Geeks. So our question of this week's episode is going to give a little bit of insight into our topic as well as into us as geeks and our geekiness. So, Carter, what is one movie? Try to pick just one, but also I know like my answer for this is it depends on the time and like how I'm feeling. So if you need to explain a couple, that's fine. But what is one movie you could watch on repeat and never get tired of?
Oh, that's easy. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I can always constantly put that movie on in the background whenever I'm doing. It's always great work for inspiration. It's just one movie. I have all the quotes are in my head. I know when this situation happens or when this scene happens. It's probably the movie I watched most as a kid. I just had that thing on repeat, and I'm surprised that my DVD of it still works today. I still have I think it's the THX full screen brand DVD that came out in 2006, and I'm surprised it still works, honestly.
Sounds about right.
Hope?
So like I was thinking that it depends on my mood because sometimes I need that like good action sequence movie. But honestly, and then because sometimes I'm also like in the feels, but I need comedy where it's not too romantic. So I'm gonna say for like romantic stuff, The Proposal with Sandra Bullock, Betty White, and Ryan Reynolds. In general, it's going to be 10 Things I Hate About You, the 90s movie with Heath Ledger and a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And then if I need action, that one also depends, but honestly, probably one that I would watch straight through without like skipping around stuff would be Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Okay. So as usual on Raving Geeks, we like to give you guys a bit of geek news. So Carter, what have you got for us this week?
We've had a busy week in terms for news. Just today, this is more bad news in my opinion, but the Russo brothers came out on their adaptation of the live action Hercules movie, and they said it is going to be a musical inspired by quote unquote TikTok. And the quote I have right here is that audiences today have been trained by TikTok, right? What is their expectation of what that musical looks like and feels like? Joe Russo said. And I got a couple opinions about this. I'm not too happy about this because I really like the Hercules movie and how what the type of musical it is, because it seems like a Broadway play, the way that they went about with that musical, and now that they're turning it into a big TikTok music video, I'm kind of mad about it actually.
So I'm gonna contact Tom Holland and be like, yo, get me in contact with the Russo brothers because we need to have a chat.
Yeah, we need to have a talk. This is not good news. Let's see here. In other news, the Avatar 2 Way of the Water official trailer came out, and it looks good. I'm not a huge fan of the Avatar series. One, I think the first movie is just a giant environmentalism movie about pollution, and I think it's actually kind of boring. And two, it took way too long for any of these sequels to come out. So I really did lose interest. I'm not even going to rewatch the first movie. I'm just going to go into the second movie with a fresh perspective, I think, and we'll see how that
Yeah.
goes.
Okay.
In other news, Adam Caesar's book called Clown in a Cornfield is getting an adaptation from the same people who did Tucker and Dale versus Evil. So that's actually really exciting to see a publisher who wrote a really, really good book, in my opinion, get a book adaptation. And I hope it's good. I'm hoping it is. Yeah, so that was something. Let's see here. Sorry, I just lost my
No, it's
internet.
all good.
Quick second. And my final piece of news is that William Jackson Harper joins Ant-Man Quantumania in a mysterious role. And I'm really excited about this because one, Marvel declined to comment about his role in the movie. And two, there are some very big rumors that he might be playing Mr. Fantastic for the foreseeable future. And I'm like, oh, that's really exciting because William Jackson Harper was probably the best thing about The Good Place.
Hey,
and
don't hate on my girl, Kristen Bell.
I know Christian Bell was good, but I don't know. William Jackson Harper really stood out in that show. He's a great romantic interest, and I just really liked his character on the show. So I'm very excited to see that actor get some newer roles, and I'm glad he's getting back out there.
Nice.
Yeah, that's all my news for the week. Hope, what do you have?
All right. So for fans of Nancy Drew on the CW, it is unfortunately canceled. Apparently CW is being acquired by Nextstar, who is the one who actually is like canceling a lot of the shows. So yeah, that one is one. I think the other one was Stargirl is being canceled.
Yeah,
as well.
I saw Stargirl got canceled, and that's like the one other CW show besides Superman that's actually good and got canceled. So I hope that Superman moves over to HBO Max because I've only watched 2 episodes of it and it's really good.
I'm just saying that if Nextstar tries to cancel the Winchesters, they are going to have a crazy, insane, very dedicated fan base that is massive coming after them.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to do that.
No, they're not going to do it. It'll be probably my opinion for all the CW shows that probably won't get canceled, like Superman and the Winchesters, especially since the Winchesters is just starting up. I think they're all going to be transferred over to HBO Max and made into HBO Max originals. That's just my theory. They could be moved over into another channel on cable, but I think that's highly unlikely.
Yeah. In other news, a lot of people have expressed their it's not distaste, it's not disdain maybe, for this news, but Henry Cavill is no longer going to be playing Geralt of Rivia in The Witcher for season 4. He will be for season 3 because he's currently filming that. But season 4, Liam Hemsworth will be taking over the mantle of Geralt. And I'm actually kind of interested because like I saw Liam Hemsworth when he was just starting out and stuff, and like the last song, and when he was a baby. But he's done some like hardcore action stuff, and so I think between like his brother telling him like how to do some of the more harder, like darker scenes, but also just the fact that he's super interested in it as well, and he's a massive nerd like Henry Cavill, like I don't see it going terribly wrong.
Right, and I have 2 takes on this news. One, this most likely guarantees that the rumors about Man of Steel 2 are that there's no way, but
like the only way that Henry Cavill, the massive nerd that he is, and how much love he has for this project, the only way he would get pulled away is if he was like contracted with Superman. Is my
Yeah.
opinion.
I tried watching the Witcher series and didn't love it. Didn't like the books and I didn't like the movie, so I tried to get into the show. Just not my type of fantasy, but I really feel bad for Liam Hemsworth right now because I think he's a great actor and I think he'll do a great job. The show's just not my thing.
I mean, I love it a lot, but also I like the lore of creatures that like aren't necessarily known about that much or might have something that you could put a twist on. So but so Henry Cavill's what he said posted on Instagram is some news to share from the continent. My journey as Geralt of Rivia has been filled with both monsters and adventures, and alas, I will be laying down my medallion and my swords for season 4. In my stead, the fantastic Mr. Liam Hemsworth will be taking up the mantle of the White Wolf. As with the greatest of literary characters, I pass the torch with reverence for the time spent embodying Geralt and enthusiasm to see Liam's take on this most fascinating and nuanced of men. Liam, good sir, this character has such a wonderful depth to him. Enjoy diving in and seeing what you can find. So I also don't think that Henry Cavill would agree to leave unless he found a replacement that he felt was worthy.
Right.
And so his statement on Instagram makes me think that he fully trusts Liam Hemsworth.
Oh,
and
yeah.
is like, you go, dude, like you got this.
Right.
In other news, Venom 3 has hired 50 Shades of Grey writer to direct the threequel. It'll also it's reportedly the last film that's going to feature Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock. So
Yeah,
I
don't think I believe that. I don't think Tom Hardy would drop that Venom money. And I think Sony would be ludicrously stupid to let that go, especially with Spider-Verse being so hot. I think it would be stupid.
Yeah, I mean, like
they've taken like literally 6 years to build this character up for their multiverse Sinister Six thing they've got going on, whatever it is. I do believe it's the last Venom movie. I do not believe that is the last time we're seeing Tom Hardy, though. There is no way that they would drop that.
Yeah, I mean, Sony has made some mistakes in the past. Not as many as Warner Brothers, but like, but also along the Marvel lines, is that Abdul Mateen will be in the Wonder Man series as the titular character, Simon Williams / Wonder Man. Abdul Mateen has apparently made some, as this article says, interesting comments about his acting with DC as clown work while working on Aquaman. But so it is going to be a TV series, but it's not supposed to be as fourth wall breaking as She-Hulk. But it is apparently different from the usual formulaic MCU. Destin Daniel Cretton will direct an episode of the series before heading over to work on Avengers Kang Dynasty, which is coming out in 2025. And Ben Kingsley is coming back for this series, for the Wonder Man series, back as his role as Trevor Slattery. Can never remember how to say his last name.
I think it's Slattery.
Slattery. Okay. But so I am kind of excited for this, but also I'm sitting here going, this will be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird seeing Yahya Abdul being cast as in the comics as an Asian American character, and there's an Asian American person directing the series. And I was kind of like, why not just get another Asian American superhero in there and use Yahya Abdul for another role? I don't know why. He's a great actor. I love him in Candyman. That's literally his best role, in my opinion. And I do think his clown work quote was taken out of context because he likes working with James Wan to come back for a sequel. So like I don't know I don't even know if that quote's like 100% true or if it was like taken out of context. It's just a strange thing for him to say after being cast in Aquaman 2 again as Black Manta and then taking the role. And I'm kind of like, something about that quote isn't right. But Wonder Man is actually a really important character to both Vision and Scarlet Witch. Just more evidence that Scarlet Witch is coming back because Wonder Man was in a love triangle between Vision and Scarlet Witch before Scarlet Witch and Vision got married. So I wonder if Vision's out going to go get his memories back during the whole Vision Quest thing. I wonder if Scarlet Witch is going to come back as just like a normal person for a time being after her power was taken away by the Darkhold. They could do that kind of storyline and she meets Wonder Man and that happens. I want her to meet Doctor Doom and get married and they do the Children's Crusade storyline. But if they do the Wonder Man storyline, that's cool too. I have no problem with it. Just bring in Wicked and Speed sometime. I don't know how they do it. Just bring them back, please.
My final piece of news is the book world / movie world, because of course the book was turned into a movie. But the Maze Runner series has a new edition as like a 73 years after the events of the Death Cure. It is called The Maze Cutter, like Cutter. And so it came out like just yesterday, I think. But so the synopsis based on the Google Books synopsis stuff is 73 years after the events of the Death Cure, when Thomas and the other immunes were sent to an island to survive the flare-triggered apocalypse, their descendants have thrived. Sedina, Isaac, and Jackie all learned about the unkind history of the Gladers from the Book of Newt and tall tales from Old Man Frypan. But when a rusty old boat shows up one day with a woman bearing dark news of the mainland, everything changes. The group and their islander friends are forced to embark back to civilization, where they find cranks have evolved into a more violent, intelligent version of themselves. The islanders are hunted by the Godhead, the Remnant Nation, and scientists with secret agendas. When they cross paths with an orphan named Miho, from the Remnant Nation, the dangers become real and they don't know who they can trust. The islanders will have to survive long enough to figure out why they are being targeted, who is friend or foe, and what the Godhead has planned for the future of humanity. So first off, someone named a child Minho, and I want to know whose child this orphan belongs to, because there are very few that are allowed to use that name as like a name for their child. And freaking Teresa is dead, so like how it would not have been able to be her. So it just makes me like go whom.
Yeah. I actually didn't really like the Maze Runner series. Didn't like the books and didn't like the movies. So this is okay for me. Glad that they're getting another series for the people who love it. Couldn't be any happier for them.
I mean, like, I loved the series. I was a huge fan of, I didn't like the constant, like, is this person good? Is this person bad? Do they have a secret agenda? They have a secret agenda. I think they have I didn't like that part, but I liked the camaraderie between the Gladers.
Mm-hmm.
And like how Thomas's affection for Teresa. Like when he knew she was bad, he was like, nope, you're done. But he was also conflicted because he's like, I know I have these memories, or like, you say I'm supposed to have these memories, and there is the like cell memory that is in his DNA and everything that tells him that there is something in the past with her, because you can't erase cell memory. You might be able to erase brain memories, but the cells always remember. So he's like, okay, there's something that we can trust about her, or like he has that like conflict of he knows she's bad, but it's not like the stupid like, I know she's bad, but I still love her. That's why I trust her. It's like, no, she's bad, but I know how we can push the buttons and use her on our side.
Right.
So, and I liked that part. And honestly, I loved when Gally came back, because like Gally was so underrated. But yeah, so that is all my geek news.
Oh, can I just say, I'm
Yeah.
coming at this live. I was just looking at my Instagram feed, and apparently Audrey Plaza just got cast in an unknown role for Agatha Coven of Chaos. So that's really interesting. That just
Okay.
like that literally just happened. Huh.
All right. We love when geek news happens right when we're recording.
Right.
Yeah. But so I guess that kind of leads into our topic of the week in a weird way, because my brain is ADHD and will find random segues. So if you don't follow it, that's okay. But our topic of the week, we are critiquing the critiquers. We're mostly focusing on Rotten Tomatoes and how they score different movies or TV shows. And we're basically critiquing them to say if like we agree, we don't agree, we understand the rating, but we feel it could be different. So I posed to Carter to have like at least 3, one for each category. So Carter, what one would you like to start with first?
All right. Well, if I'm starting, I'm going to start off with a movie called Four Brothers. Have you heard of it?
It sounds familiar. I don't think I've ever seen it.
It came out in 2005, and the IMDb page says when their adoptive mother gets gunned down in a store robbery, 4 adoptive brothers decide to investigate the murder and find the killers for themselves. Tell
me who's in it.
It's starring Mark Wahlberg, Tyree Gibson, Andre 3000, Garrett Hedlund, and then
That's who. Okay.
Chetwell Ejiofor as the villain.
Garrett Hedlund was like, I've looked at his IMDb page, like credits for different stuff, because I like him in most of the movies I've seen him in. So, but yeah, that's why it sounded familiar.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this movie because I stumbled upon it. I don't remember if it was last year or this year. It was whenever snow was on the ground. So in Michigan, that's any day of the week. But me and my dad
in the winter.
Yeah, in the winter or spring, maybe sometimes summer. You know, it's May. Me and my dad were just sitting on the couch and we were super bored, and we just saw this movie on Netflix and watched the trailer and like, oh, this looks really good, and it's probably one of the best action movies I've ever seen. It's got a super compelling plot and great acting all around. I think this might be Mark Wahlberg's best movie, if I'm speaking honestly. He's just so good in this movie as like a serious revenge hell-bent man just wanting to get revenge, and someone who just misses their motherly figure. And this is a great movie to watch around Thanksgiving because it does take place around this time. What surprises me is that this movie stands at like a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the audience scores like at a 60, and I'm like, well, who hated this movie? This is a great action movie. I was so surprised by that when I got done watching the movie. I'm like, man, this feels like a movie that would be up for some awards, and it was not. And I gotta say, I love this movie, and I highly recommend it to someone who loves action movies, because there's this insane car chase that happens in the middle of the movie where it's just blizzard snow and there's ice on the road, and they're chasing these two people. I think it's Tyree Gibson characters and Andre 3000's characters. And they're chasing these two people who think have something to do with the murder of their mom. And they're chasing, like, this chase like lasts for like 5 minutes, and it's just them skidding along the ice and making these insane turns and going through a fire hydrant. And I'm like, there's no way that this would happen in real life, but damn, is it entertaining though.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that is the one that you agree with, right?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
it's the, yeah.
All right. I have to pull it up on my phone because I took a bunch of screenshots. So the one that I found very interesting. I agree with the score. But I
Oh
found
yeah, so I
very
don't agree with the score on my movie.
Oh,
Sorry, I
you-
thought we were doing the one
oh
you
no,
didn't agree
that's
with.
right. You said you didn't agree with it. Okay.
Yeah.
The one that I don't agree with that I was able to find of like, oh wait. Okay, so the one that I really don't agree with is Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales.
Yeah.
The Rotten Tomato score is 30%. Audience score is 60, so it's
How
double.
is the audience score that high? Wow.
I loved that movie. Are you kidding me? To see
No.
Jack Sparrow have to
Really?
deal, yeah, to see Jack
Oh.
Sparrow have to deal with Elizabeth and Will's son, who looks
Oh.
like they did such a good casting with Brenton Thwaites to be able to like match him with like how Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom's children would look. Like it was so good. And then to have Barbosa have a kid, like what? And then she takes his name at the end too. I was like, oh, my heart. Like I understood that like there were some aspects of it that weren't the greatest. So like I'm not giving it 100%. I'm
Mhm.
not. But I at least expected like an 85, like at the lowest, or
Yeah.
like 85 to 90 would be like the highest range that I would put it.
Mhm.
But like it set up a next movie so well, and then She Who Must Not Be Named
Yeah,
and
the
Will Not Be
trauma.
Named just
Oh.
like screwed everything over. Warner Brothers was stupid when it came to that. And then like screwed over Johnny Depp, and they were like, nope, we're not doing another movie. And I'm like, but you have potential for it. You could bring
Yeah.
back these characters.
Ooh,
Like,
yeah.
oh, you could do like follow the stars, what Pirates like actually did, and you're not good. But yeah,
Yeah, that's fair. I don't like to talk about that entire thing that happened.
yeah, I have very strong feelings, and so yeah, but that is one that I disagreed with so hard because I'm sorry, that movie was great. Like, oh, it was just good. And then also the fact that oh crap, what's her name? Okay, I have to look this up real quick. Hold on. Because it's her husband that's in it. Oh, okay. Javier Bardem was in this movie as the villain, and he is married to, why am I still blanking on her name? Oh my gosh. Penelope Cruz. Okay, I had it right in my head, but I was like, that's wrong. Penelope Cruz, who had been in, was the movie prior on Stranger Tides.
Mhm.
And I'm like, it would be so perfect to be able to like bring them in together, like all of a sudden, you know, but also like I understood you couldn't fully like use his character
Mhm.
because like they destroyed the trident, Poseidon's trident. But like I was like, okay, we're having a family affair here. Like let's just keep going with it. And then yeah, She Who Will Not Be Named ruined
Yes.
everything. So but if anybody agrees, like I want to know while we're talking about this, if you guys who are listening agree or disagree with any of us, any of our opinions here, let us know, because we are literally critiquing the critiquers here. So like, if you want to critique the critiquers who are critiquing the critiquers, if that all made sense, like, come on, have the conversation with us. But yeah, so what was one that you don't necessarily agree with, but you don't necessarily disagree with, but like you understand the rating?
For that, it would have to be hold on. I need to pull it back up because I just lost my page. Hold on a sec. For me, it's probably Muppets from Space, actually. The Rotten Tomatoes score is a 63%. I personally love this movie though, but I can understand why people don't like this movie because it is quite dated. And it's a movie that came out in like 1999? Yeah, and it has like a bunch of random 70s references for some reason. It's a movie that should have come out in the 70s but came out in 1999. I think people expected more modern jokes on that time, and instead they got a Muppet movie from the 70s. But I think that's what makes it better, honestly. Muppets from Space is actually my favorite Muppet movie that ever came out, next to Muppet Treasure Island. But it's probably because Muppets in Space is the one I've seen the most and had the most memories with my brother watching, because man, it's such a fun little movie. And like, you finally get to know what Gonzo actually is, because the whole meme around him is that he's a thing, or he's an elephant, or nobody knows what he is. And finding out is that he's an alien is actually pretty satisfying, in my opinion, because he looks like an alien. So it's not like, oh, he was an anteater the entire time, where it's kind of a stretch where you really have to like squint at it. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you can see it, but like, the simple answer of him being an alien is like, oh yeah, totally, that makes sense to me. But other than that, I don't have much to say about this film, because Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb kind of did it for me, whether it's good or bad. But yeah, how about you, Hope?
I will say the first Fantastic Beasts movie. So Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It didn't fully surprise me with this score, even though I liked it. But like, I understand why others didn't like the movie. But it rated at a 74 for Rotten Tomatoes and only a 79 for audience. So for once, like, audience and Rotten Tomatoes were actually like relatively the same. I think, in my opinion, people followed the title way too closely, because they were like, oh, it's gonna be like Newt going around and finding all of the different creatures. Well, no, it's a prequel to Harry Potter, so you're gonna have events leading up to Harry Potter. But I understand the title is misleading. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. You're like, oh, it's gonna be like Indiana Jones. But like, also at the same time, like, I'm like, for what it was good. But because people hated the fact that it didn't match the title, they were like, oh, I hate it. I'm like, no, you don't. You just hate that you got tricked, or you think you got tricked. Like, there are so many movies that literally the only reason it's named that is because of like one little thing in the movie, or like Sherlock Holmes movies or whatever. It's called Sherlock Holmes because that's the name of the main character.
Right.
Like,
For everybody who's listening, you're about to get mad, but that movie is actually my favorite Harry Potter movie of all time. I love Fantastic Beasts so much, and I think I understand where you're coming from, but I think the movies you're talking about are the sequels that follow, because they're titled Fantastic Beasts, but only are used to set up the Harry Potter universe, and don't do a good job at it. Because the overall goal of Fantastic Beasts, sure, it's still background to Harry Potter, but the whole goal of him coming to America was to find the Obscurus, and to find a home for the Obscurus, and to find a home for the Oh, what's the weather phoenix called? I forget its name, but
I
whatever
do, but
was
yeah.
that erases everybody's memories. But there were still goals pertaining to the Fantastic Beasts. And he still goes around and finds all the animals because they all escaped from his suitcase
His
in the zoo.
case, yeah.
Like the whole rhino scene where he's doing the mating dance
Be a
with it.
rumpet?
Yeah, I love that scene. That scene is so charming and whimsical, and going to go find I'm blanking on his name. What's his name? The little
Jacob?
platypus. Yes, the little
Oh,
platypus.
the Niffler?
Yeah, the Niffler. And them finding the Niffler in the jewelry store and him acting like a mannequin. Oh, it's just such a whimsical, fun film. And oh, my mom and I and my brother and my dad would sit around. We would usually try to watch it every winter. Oh, such a wonderful movie to watch during the winter time. It's always one that goes, it's not a Christmas movie, but I consider it a Christmas movie because I always watch it around that time. It gives me such warm, fuzzy feelings. Oh, I love that movie so very much.
Yeah, I will say my favorite of the Fantastic Beasts trilogy is the third one. But I love Mads Mikkelsen, but he was not the Grindelwald that I wanted.
Should have
I
been
wanted Johnny Depp.
It should have been Johnny
But
Depp.
you know, Warner Brothers and She Who Will Not Be Named.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did a good job. He did not create the same Grindelwald.
It's just because I think Mads took the role because one, money, why would he not deny that money? And two, he was playing the role that was meant for another actor. So he was trying to replicate another actor while trying to put his own spin on it while trying to adapt the character from the books and stories. Yep. And so for him, I think his performance just got jumbled up. And I do think the third movie is better than the second one because I despise and hate the second one. The second one was my least favorite Harry Potter movie of all time, and I wish I could physically bury that thing. The third one I just found kind of boring, honestly. It's just that nothing really happens. It's a bunch of random events, and the climax happens, which is just something that takes place in Grindelwald's mind, and nobody gets killed. And I was kind of like, okay, nothing really happened. I could have not seen in that entire trilogy, and nothing for the Harry Potter universe for me would have been changed. It's whatever. I'm still glad the first one exists because that's my favorite Harry Potter movie. I love that movie till the day I die. I will defend it till the day I die.
So Carter, I'm going to say agree to disagree about the plot of the third movie. Because I think it was, but there was an overall theme, and like I will be honest, the whole Dumbledore versus Grindelwald thing that technically didn't actually happen yet made me frustrated. I will admit that, because it was all in the head instead of like everybody watching it, blah blah blah. And then Grindelwald just like disappears, and I'm like, but battle. That next movie, we bring back Johnny Depp. Sorry, Mads Mikkelsen, I love you, but like Johnny Depp.
I see. Like I thought they canceled the Fantastic Beasts series. I thought they weren't doing anymore. Which is why,
I think it is up in the air.
Yeah, which makes me kind of mad because, like, in the third one, like, if we don't get a new one, that just like it just ends off like that. And I'm like, what? What is
so? Part of it is Ezra Miller, which,
well, yes, I mean, well, we already know his entire situation. Don't even get me started on that.
Yeah, but Warner Brothers is even more stupid with that because they were like, well, we don't know if we're gonna keep him as the Flash or not. And I'm like, you're getting rid of him.
He's facing 29 years. What do you think you're gonna keep him?
But so I think part of it is Warner Brothers needs to get their poop in a group. Their shit together, however you want to say it. They need to figure it out. They need to apologize publicly to Johnny Depp. And then they need to say, J.K. Rowling, we disagree with your comments because we are still trying to save face, but also because we don't believe in your transphobic comments. And then they need to get a writer and create the fourth film. Well,
we're making a list for Warner Brothers stuff to do. Fire Amber Heard and replace her with Emilia Clarke. Thank you very much.
Boom. Or just get rid of that character in Aquaman 2 and bring in Emilia Clarke for Aquaman 3. Yes. But then the other part, so going back to like the plot and everything, I think the plot of the third Fantastic Beasts movie was not as obvious as other plots for movies are. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what frustrates people, because we as a society have gotten very used to being handed plots and what exactly is happening in movies. Right. And so when we actually have to be like, think critically about, wait, what was it? What were they trying to say? And like, what? Then we get upset.
Right. My response to that is Harry Potter really the film franchise to be asking that question? It works well with horror movies. It works well with romantic comedies. It works well with some action movies. Does it work with Harry Potter? I mean, Harry Potter was usually pretty straightforward with a bunch of branching plots. Correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, because I'm not a huge fan of the franchise.
Yeah. But I think because, so the Harry Potter like series, the regular 8 movies, mm-hmm. those had books to go off of.
Right.
The Fantastic Beasts technically have a book to go off of, but also not really, because the book is part of the unfortunately imaginary, because I would very much like it to be real, but the imaginary world of Harry Potter and wizards and witches. So therefore, they do not have a thing they can use to guide them along, mm-hmm. Which means that they could totally make it more in depth and like very definitely, hide some things. And honestly, the Harry Potter fandom spans so many ages.
That's
and
so
still
true.
Is continuing today, that they could fully like continue with it, as long as they don't royally screw things up. Like, no one would care. We all love Newt Scamander. We love mm-hmm. Eddie Redmayne. We love Jude Law. We love
Kowalski. Don't forget my boy Kowalski.
I was getting there.
Just making sure. Don't forget Kowalski.
We love Jacob Kowalski. We love the Niffler. We love Bo Truckle, Pickett. Listen, they could do so much with the film. But Warner Brothers, oh my God, that's another podcast episode, but we should not go into that. That is another
podcast episode.
But so I think they totally could, just because they don't have books that they have to follow. Mm-hmm. They just have like what J.K. Rowling has said happened in the past.
Right.
And she is only given so many details that they could fill in other details.
Okay.
To match it to the other movies and stuff. But so that's my opinion. But yeah. So going on to our next one, what is one that you completely agree with for Rotten Tomatoes?
Well, I think it would have to be like my computer just totally glitched out, so please bear with me. Gotta retype it in. You know what? I'm just gonna take a cheap shot and say Morbius. Yeah, that movie is utter trash, and I'm pretty sure that that's standing at a 20. No, it went down to 15%. Yeah, nope, that's the one I totally agree with. Yeah, Nick Fawcett, if you're watching, you heard what I said. That movie is utter trash. I feel bad for everyone involved with it. I feel terrible for Matt Smith. And because I'm such a Matt Smith, I actually met him and got his, I don't know if it'll show up, but I got his signature It's not going
It
to
showed up
show
a little bit, but
It showed up a little bit, but I love that man to death. He is one of my favorite actors of all time, and I feel so bad that he was in that movie. He was like literally the best thing about it. And he does that goofy ass dance where he spins around in a circle. Oh, I hate that movie. And plus, I love the comic character of Morbius. He's such a cool character in the comics, and they totally screwed him up because of Jared Leto's flat acting and writing. And he's such a cool character and would have been so cool to have in the MCU as like a part of the Midnight Suns, which they're building right now. And I'm just sad. That movie makes me sad every time I look at that poster, and whenever it's on Netflix, this appears in my recommended, I just get sad when I look at it.
Wasn't that one like Sony was just like, hey, Marvel, we're gonna make this film for you with nothing, that we're not gonna listen to a dang thing you say.
They brought Michael Keaton into their universe with just no reason. That's not how the spell worked in No Way Home, and they just totally reversed that. And I'm like, that's not how multiversal body displacement. I'm getting so flustered just because you brought that up. That's not how the spell worked in No Way Home. And they're like, oh yeah, no, it brought characters from the MCU into our universe now, which I personally think Marvel should have sued over that, because technically that is their character now. But the whole Spider-Man rights in a general, it's just a mess. It's just an absolute mess. Yeah. I despise that film. I despise it. I refuse to review it on my Instagram when it came out, because I don't like to talk negative about film, but when a film like Morbius comes along and once in a blue moon to just agitate the crap out of me, I can't help but be negative about it. The only negative I'll say about that film is that it has surprisingly good CGI.
The only negative you'll say is that they have good CGI?
Or the only positive. I have nothing but negatives. The only positive I'll say about that is that it has decent CGI. And that's it. That's literally it. I can't believe they removed all the Spider-Man cameos and everything. Tom Holland was going to be in that movie, and then it was Andrew Garfield. And then they're like, nah, fuck it. We're taking it all out. It was false advertising. I thought somebody could get away with suing Sony for false advertising. That would have been really funny to see that play out, because I heard rumors that a fan was going to sue Sony for that. And I'm like, please do it. Maybe they'll learn their lesson. And so now with Kraven the Hunter coming out next year, I'm like, I will go see it, but I just want it to be good. All I'm asking of Sony is just to make good films. And I'm like, you may not be able to use Peter Parker, but that doesn't mean you can't use all the other Spider-Men. Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2099, Madam Web they're actually using, thank God, and they're doing like a Doctor Strange type of story with it. That's like, I'm like, finally, somebody has a brain cell in the writer's room.
I'm not sure how I feel about, is it Dakota Fanning?
Yeah,
Dakota
last name as Madam Web.
I'm not entirely sure about her, because I've only ever seen her with 50 Shades, but I'm like, oh my God.
What's up with Sony's obsession with hiring people from 50 Shades? First writers, now, who knows? You know what?
I mean, technically Dakota Fanning was first.
Yeah, I think Dakota will do fine. I think as long as she's given a competent script, which is hard to come by from Sony. But, you know, I can't really say too much shit, because Sony produced Bullet Train, which ended up being like my second favorite movie of this year. And they actually had a decent script and money go into that film. So I can thank them for that, but I can still pick on them for Morbius, because that movie is, it is a modern atrocity, in my opinion.
All right. Well, on the other end of the spectrum, I think that one that they got right, which surprises me, and the audience rating surprises me, considering it wasn't the best like reaction from people and didn't do as well as they thought it would, West Side Story.
Oh yeah, the remake by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah,
I yet to watch it, but I hear that movie is actually amazing. It even
it
got
was
nominated.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I
so it got 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, which like okay, you know, if you're comparing it to the musical and the film based on the musical that was made in the 60s with
Mhm.
Marita Moreno, um there are differences.
Yeah.
But honestly, there were some differences that I was like, this makes so much more sense. I like this so much better. Like, oh my, like, no, it was good.
Yeah.
And
I think
then like it was good.
I
It was
think
really
Steven
good.
Spielberg is going to make a comeback here because he's got West Side Story and he's got his new film coming out in November called The Fablemans, which is a semi biopic about his life growing up with film. I'm really
Yeah.
excited to see that as a person who admires to be a screenwriter and director one day. And then he's got something else cooking, like a secret project or something. So I think he's
Yeah.
going to make a comeback here.
I mean, I don't think he ever lost anything,
No, he
in
just
my opinion. But
he
I
just
think he just
left.
yeah, he took a break because he's
Yeah, he
like,
took a
hey, there's
break.
other people.
I never
Like
said he
they
didn't.
need stuff.
Yeah, I never said he didn't do anything bad, which of course that he has. He's got some stinkers in there if I looked up his filmography, but he did take a break for like a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then
But
now he's like,
also he was due
something
that.
again.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I couldn't be any happier. I love Steven Spielberg. All of
Yeah.
his movies, especially E.T. Got E.T. and the Indiana Jones franchise, except for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I'll take these three, not that one. Just push that film into like a corner somewhere. We don't like to look at him.
Yeah. Well, we're also still waiting for the supposed sequel about
Yeah,
Indiana
Indiana Jones
Jones's
5.
son. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be Shia LaBeouf.
It's still
And
Shia LaBeouf. He's still going to be in it, much to my
really? Because I had heard not James Patterson, Robert Pattinson was taking it over. Because I
Is-
got really mad.
Huh. Well, I hate Shia LaBeouf as an actor, so I'm more than welcoming to Robert Pattinson. I don't hate him. Like I don't hate him, but like there's been some roles where I'm just like, "Ugh, just get off my screen and go back to iRobot days where you were actually a competent actor. But like he did Peanut Butter Falcon, which was admittedly good. And then he did something else that I really liked him in, actually. But if Robert Pattinson's taking over, you're not twisting.
I haven't heard things for a few years, so
Yeah, I heard that film's gonna have time travel in it, and that was like 2 years ago. And I'm like, they do look, aliens was one thing, but time travel in Indiana Jones film, I'm like, could we just go back to the previous script where Steven Spielberg said he wanted to do a haunted house Indiana Jones movie because the supernatural is well established in the Indiana Jones franchise? I'm like, I'll
yeah.
be down for that, but we're doing time travel instead. The only faith I have in the Indiana Jones 5 movie is that the person who wrote and directed Logan, one of my favorite Marvel movies of all time, is doing that movie. And so like, okay, maybe the slightest sliver of hope has me wondering this could possibly work. I am a little mad that Steven Spielberg walked because of quote unquote creative differences, but that just means that Disney wasn't playing ball with Spielberg. And I'm like, okay, get the guy who did Logan. We'll see how it goes. I'll be buying a ticket. It's Indiana Jones. Seeing more of Harrison Ford and Marianne's going to be fun. So,
All right. So I have a question for you.
Mhm.
Have you seen the Sister Act?
No, but it's on my watch list. I had a friend who, yeah, I know.
Talk about it then.
I know.
Gosh dang it.
I'm sorry. There are some obvious films that I haven't seen. Like, for instance, I've never seen Inception.
I've never seen Inception.
Yeah, I've
I
never
don't plan
seen
to.
Inception. I've never seen a lot of films, and I'm working down my filmography. I mean, I just watched Barbarian. That was a disturbing horror movie. I do think it was overhyped, but some of the scenes in that
All right.
movie, ooh, gruesome. Oof.
You saw Eternals, right?
Yeah, I saw Eternals. That was good. I think it was overhated. I think people were super dramatic about it. I mean, it was too long and it needed to be cut down a little. There were some scenes in there. And the fact that
Alright.
Sprite didn't get any repercussions in that film, I was like, you're gonna let her be human? I would let her not be human and live with the consequences. I mean, she got nothing. Well, I mean, I guess she's gonna die a normal human because I hate Sprite anyway. So
Just saying she doesn't have
Yeah.
powers anymore. So
yeah, good on you, kid. You just traded in your life of an eternity to die as a normal human being. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. You got your thing. No repercussions.
here are the two scores, and I'm not going to tell you which is which, and I want you to guess.
Okay.
47% and 77%.
For the sister act?
No, for Eternals.
Oh, for Eternals? 47% for the audience, and then the other one for the critical. Really? Huh.
The audience apparently liked it more than Rotten Tomatoes, and I am
That's
on the side
so-
of Rotten Tomatoes.
That's so interesting because all I hear about, like, everybody like on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook are just complaining about how bad Eternals was.
Because they went there for freaking Harry Styles. And don't get me wrong, I love Harry Styles.
That's so
I
true.
absolutely
You were just
adore
very-
that man.
Yeah.
But they were like, oh, Harry Styles is in it. And then they were confused because, like, they don't understand the MCU. But, like, also, I understand the MCU, but that movie confused the crap out of me at times. So, but it's because they didn't get to see Harry Styles in all of it. That's why people were complaining. Let's
Yeah.
be honest.
I wasn't confused about the story at all. Like, I could see, I'm like, okay, I can vaguely see where that slides in, but it's strange that you didn't fully explain it. You just only teased it. It's the only thing that made me frustrated and confused for some of the character choices, like Icarus being the secret bad guy. I was like, he's the leader of the team in the comics, but
Hey,
sure, gonna do an evil.
But also, if you have a character named Icarus, you need him to fly into the sun.
Yeah, but that's what happens in the comics. You know, he sacrifices himself for the team by flying himself in the sun. I'm like, you didn't have to do that in the first movie. You could have built him up as a secret villain for like a trilogy of Eternals movies. I'm like, we already know Eternals 2 and 3 are coming. They already confirmed it. Sure, I'll go see it. I mean, I'm really excited about Druid and Thena's and
Druid.
Makari's story. I'm excited for where they're going into cosmic MCU, and I think that's going to be extremely interesting. So I always wanted to learn more about the Celestials and Irisham being like the tall, looming Darth Sidious kind of puppet master figure in that movie. Every time Irisham was on screen, my mouth was on the floor. Oh my God, what a great introduction for a villain. Very excited to see him come in. I do think it was concerning that they killed off a good amount of the team and then separated everyone at the end. I was like confused about that too. Also, they're androids and oh no, wait a minute, Brian Tyree Henry. Yeah, no, wait a minute, he married the guy. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, never mind. Brian Tyree Henry was also really underrated in that film. I'm like, how come Fastos didn't get more attention? But man, they killed off Gilgamesh. They killed off what was Salma Hawks' character? Ajak.
Yeah,
They-
Ajak.
Ajak, and they killed off Icarus, and they turned Sprite into a human who's gonna die anyways of old age and can't help the team. So we're left with like literally half the team, and I'm like, wow, we didn't
Yeah.
even get introduced to these characters long enough for them to get killed off of. I was like, really? We're gonna go that? Okay, I guess that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know why you guys decided to do Eternals if you're just gonna just do away with half the team, but that's okay. Just hope the celestial cosmic story is super interesting. Please let it be interesting, because that's like, this movie ended off really good and it left me with wanting more. But I was just more confused. I'm like, one, we could have gotten there in a shorter amount of time. And two, you didn't have to kill off basically the half the entire team to make me care about them. You could just say, we're going to focus on these characters, and then we're going to leave for these characters to get development in the next film, and the next film. That's how the MCU works. You don't have to kill off characters all the time. They can still stick around. I think the MCU has a really bad tendency of killing off people, specifically villains. and side characters could have needed more development.
Have you seen the TikTok video that is like this girl in Target, and she's like, guys, all of our MCU favorite characters are back together, and then flips the camera around and it's all the skeletons in the Halloween.
I did not see. I might go look that video up now that you mention
It's
it.
hilarious. Okay, next film question I have for you, which if you're watching on YouTube and you're wondering what the heck is my background, it is from Sorcerer's Apprentice with Nicolas Cage.
Oh
And
yeah.
the guy who plays Doc Ock. Oh my gosh.
Alfred Molina.
Yeah. Okay. But have you seen that movie?
Yeah, I saw it in theaters actually with my brother and my grandmother.
Okay.
It's been a while
this-
though.
I mean, did you have a positive experience with it?
Yeah, I liked it as a kid.
Okay.
It kind of went in out in through my head, when you're out the other, but it didn't harm anything, it didn't offend me.
Okay. 40% and 53%.
Okay, that's actually really difficult because that's very close to each other. I'm gonna say 53% for the critical score and then the 40% for the audience. Really? Audience liked them more. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I
Which
mean,
really
it's still
surprised
not a good
me
score,
too. But so my sister and I saw it, and we were in theaters, and we didn't know it was supposed to rain or anything. But during the scene with like the Tesla coils doing Secrets by One Republic,
oh yeah, I remember
it started thundering, and it sounded like part of the movie. And so like for me, there's just like this extra magical piece to Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah.
But I also loved the nod. Sorry, words escaped me, and it's a simple word. The nod to the Mickey Mouse in Fantasia 2000 Sorcerer's Apprentice with the brooms and
Yeah, that was
the
fun.
lab.
That's the only connection. Like, I hate how people were like, this is the adaptation of Sorcerer's Apprentice. I'm like, don't you dare invoke that short's name. It's not.
Yeah.
It just takes ideas from it and incorporates it into a new thing. Because I don't see Mickey Mouse running around on that screen. And which also makes me wonder, why didn't they just do a film adaptation of Sorcerer's Apprentice? Like, an animated Mickey film is something we haven't had in a very long time. I kind of miss it, honestly.
Because I don't know that they feel like Mickey Mouse is a character people want to see right now.
I mean, I get it because of political reasons, but as far as seeing Mickey Mouse, I'd love to see a new Mickey Mouse movie. I mean, adapt Epic Mickey onto the screen, That'd be a great story to adapt. Him meeting Oswald the Rabbit, and then you can do so many animation things. I mean, yes, I know political things, but like the characters,
But I mean, like, I could see doing a Mickey Mouse thing, but I also think that Disney is just, they're in this like mode of they're trying to use all the characters that everybody seems to love, and like Mickey just seems like that character that is kind of otherworldly that they don't want to mess up.
Yeah.
So to play it safe, they're not going to make anything more with him. But I
Yeah.
did like for Sorcerer's Apprentice that they brought in science into magic.
Yeah, I love that concept because science is being magic and magic is just being more complex. Science is such an interesting idea to me.
Mm-hmm.
I love
And I
that.
think about like actual magicians too, and like the different science reactions, the chemical reactions that happen, or like, whatever science effects that happen for them to be able to do some of their tricks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, it's true though. Like,
yeah, science is literally just more complex version of magic.
Yeah, it's explainable magic. It's
explainable magic, right? We can conjure fire, just not by using a wand.
Yeah, or using our fingertips or anything. So, but yeah, I think the score should have been higher for that one personally. But that's like, because that's where I really start. I'm like, what did you find wrong with this movie? Or was it just because you were pissed off that it wasn't actually an adaptation, or you thought it was an adaptation of the Mickey Mouse short?
Oh
And
no,
so, like, that's why, like,
that's not the reason why I don't like this film. I never said I don't like
oh,
it. I just said
why
it's
the
kind of
critique
forgettable.
is so bad.
Oh, why the critique is so bad? I think it's
Yeah.
because people weren't. They still took Nicolas Cage as like a serious actor, and his performance is kind of questionable in this. But I mean, I don't think people understood what Nicolas Cage was going for around this time because he's never been a serious actor. And
Kidding me?
he
No.
does
He
serious
doesn't
movies.
even call himself an actor. He calls himself a thespian.
Yeah, he made an entire movie that's a parody of himself. But when he does serious movies like Pig, I think it kind of twists people around like, oh, this is what acting always should have been. And finally, Nicolas Cage is embracing that side of him. No, he just did the role because he liked the script. The thing I used, fun fact about me, I used to hate Nicolas Cage as an actor as a kid because I just never understood what he was going for. But now, as an adult, wow, I can actually say that I'm adult now. Crazy. Even though I don't like to admit it, as an adult's perspective, I can actually respect what Cage is doing. He's just doing his own passion, like what he loves. And I'm like, I strive to be like Nicolas Cage in that form, to be working and doing what I love and doing basically what I want as my living is an amazing dream to have. And I am so appreciative that we get to watch Nicolas Cage just be happy and do himself. And makes me a little bit jealous too.
Yeah. All right. I have a few more.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think you've seen The Greatest Beer Run Ever, right?
No, I've never seen it.
Okay. So the Rotten Tomato score is 42%.
Okay.
But the audience score is 91%. That is
Wow.
over double.
That is insane. It's not that many
Like-
movies that can do that.
Like, what? I'm sitting here going, Rotten Tomatoes, like, your critiquers went into this movie thinking what? And saw what negative things when the audience absolutely loved this movie. Like, what? This is why I don't like critiques and like why I don't always follow Rotten Tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, no, the audience loved it. But
Yeah.
you're telling me that the critique is like in the trash?
Yeah, that's the same thing with Bullet Train this year. The audience score is like over 85 and the critical score is like a 52. I'm like, I think the whole entire thing with movie criticism is that it gets blown so out of proportion that people forget when to take a movie seriously and when to have fun with a movie.
Yeah. And I think so. Here's like I said that this episode was us critiquing the critiquers.
Mm-hmm.
And so the critique that you and I are both getting to here is like, and this goes for any sort of critique, and this goes for any sort of awards too. You cannot judge a movie based on what the critiquers are saying, because they're looking for something specific to make the score go down.
Right.
Or they're looking for something specific to give it a certain award. And like, so they can be so, what was the word you just used? Oh my gosh. Crap.
I said a lot of words during this, so
Like, it's not trickery, but it can be like tricking people into thinking a movie is good just because it got this award.
Well, I mean, I think what the quote that you're looking for is don't judge a book by its cover. The cover being some movies can have the blandest, some books in my world can have like the most blandest cover, but inside those pages are some of the best stories I've ever read. The cover in this instance being the Rotten Tomatoes score. And I think some people see that score and they don't go see the movie. And I have done that a plenty number of times. I have seen the score in some movies and I've ended up loving them. Take for reason Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. People hate that movie because there was no Michael Myers in that movie, but I love that movie because John Carpenter just does something different. He wanted to do an anthology with the Halloween movie series, and I respect it, and I love that idea. And when I saw that film and just took out the iteration that Michael Myers was not going to be in that film, I had a lot of fun with it. It's not my favorite Halloween movie, but damn, is it fun.
Yeah. So, all right. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we give our recommendations?
I would actually.
Okay.
There's a movie I'd like to bring up, and it's called Christopher Robin, and it does deal with the Disney live action media. I will say it is a shame that Christopher Robin did so bad because its score is really good. It's a Rotten Tomatoes score of 75%, and the audience score is like 86. But here's the thing. That movie had a budget of 85, 90 million, and it only made $106 million at the box office. And this movie, my best friend Connell Smith took me, and I think it was like a late birthday gift because he was out of town for my birthday. But man, that movie never ceases to make me cry with the whole speech at the end of Humpalump and Woozles, and never to lose your child side, and him moving back to the country with his daughter, Christopher Robin, and them moving into the old house he used to stay at, so he's closer to Winnie the Pooh and his friends, so his daughter can grow up with the stuff that he had as a kid. It's such a great poetic movie because it's really what my dad did with me. He never really tossed any of his stuff away, and he just gave it to me and let me play with it so I could experience what he had as a kid. And I always thank my dad for that. And that movie just brought me back to those nostalgia times. And plus, it's a great movie to watch in the fall. Great fall visuals, and when Christopher Robin's just walking through the woods trying to find Pooh Bear, and he's remembering all the Huffalumps and Woozles and all the adventures that he had together. Such a whimsical, fun movie. But I did want to talk about this movie, and that people always say that Disney live action movies, when they're trying to adapt their animated work, are bad. And I think that's such a ludicrous take. Sure, there are some of those attempts like Pinocchio and Lion King that people don't really like to talk about. But there's the Jungle Book live action movie, which I think is nearly as perfect as the animation adaptation. But I actually also kind of like the live action remake too of Lion King. I think Donald Glover is a much better Simba than Matthew Broderick. I think Timon and Pumbaa are hilarious, and the fact that Seth Rogen is voicing Pumbaa is just perfect. The voice cast is perfect, and actually that version of Hakuna Matata I prefer over the cartoon version. I don't know, it's just something about Donald Glover's singing that's just so pleasant to me. And when he hits that note, when it means no worries, it just gives me chills. I love that scene so much. I will say, giving Scar a rap and like more of like a poetic version of Be Prepared was extremely underwhelming. But I do like the visuals, and I see where Jon Favreau was going with that movie. Trying to make it like a documentary style for The Lion King. And I think in some instances it does work, but when the animation that you had for The Lion King back in the animated movie was really meant for those post-pounding emotional scenes like the stampede scene and when Mufasa dies, I can see where people are frustrated with that. But then it gets me confused. I'm like, if you wanted to go see the animated version of the story, then go watch the animated version. Why would you go into something different with the same expectations? And I think that's why when Christopher Robin came out around the time where Disney was just remaking all these live action things, and sure, some of them are done for a quick buck, but Christopher Robin had its own story. It didn't really adapt anything, and had its own word to tell, and it had its own mind to speak. And I think that it's such a shame that people don't give some movies a chance. And sure, it's not exactly like your childhood, but Christopher Robin made Winnie the Pooh better for me, and going back and seeing it through an adult's eyes or lens, it's really something I like to go back to. And I wish people would give more of a movies a chance. Going back to the don't judge a book by its cover thing, I think every movie that comes out in the theater, including Morbius, deserves a free chance. It deserves to be seen. That's why we go to the movies, to enjoy movies, to escape and to just wonder and watch and listen and admire creation. And I think when people judge book by its cover, some of that is lost in why some theaters aren't open now, because some people neglect that experience, and it makes me sad. So I hope that everybody who is listening try and go to a movie once every 2 months or so. Go admire that piece of artwork and what that director and writer and artists are trying to say. Some may provide life lessons, some provide a hoot and a holler, and some leave you extremely depressed. And well, at least you were entertained by it, Morbius. But that's what I have to say about that.
All right. Well, as always on Raving Geeks, we like to end our podcast with some geek recommendations, whether it be books, movies, TV shows, music, anything of the geek nature. So Carter, what's your recommendation for this week?
My big recommendation is Christopher Robin. Of course, I think it's such a perfect time to watch this fall movie while the leaves are starting to fall and the snow's starting to come in. It's a great movie to also watch around Thanksgiving. Same with Four Brothers. But I'd also like to recommend A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. It's a great movie to watch around this time. And I think that's it.
Okay. My recommendations for y'all are, and this one specifically goes out to Carter, Sister Act. Also, you need to watch Sister Act 2, as it is just as beautiful. It doesn't deal with her being in witness protection, but it is still Whoopi Goldberg being a nun as a Las Vegas performer. And I do mean performer in the most like PG sense, y'all, okay?
Okay.
But so those are my two recommendations, but also I want to, oh crap, what was it? I know I recommended this in past episodes with my last co-host, but I am finishing this book up and I'm sitting here going, I don't want to finish it because it's so good and I don't have the sequel with me right now. But Six of Crows by Leah Bardugo. Oh, it has my heart. And I'm fairly certain, if I am predicting this right, based on the trailer that we got, season 2 of Shadow and Bone is going to follow closely with at least parts of Six of Crows, especially with Matthias being in prison and everything. So yeah, read Six of Crows. It is so good. You learn more about Jasper and Inej and even Kaz and Kaz Brecker. Oh gosh, he is my child. So yes,
Okay.
both show and book, he is just you protect Kaz Brecker at all costs. So if she kills him off, I'm gonna be so pissed. But I don't think she's gonna kill him off. But yeah, so those are my recommendations for this week. As always, if you guys have a recommendation for a question of the week or a topic that you want us to discuss, you can reach out to us on Twitter at Raving Geeks or on Facebook, which will be updated as well at Raving Geeks. Just search up Raving Geeks. And then you can also find us on TikTok at Raving Geeks as well. You can always comment on our videos because we can't respond via message because we don't have a phone number connected. Woo! But we do respond to comments as long as there's not a million of them like there are on our videos that actually kind of go viral. But yeah, so reach out to us. We love to hear from you guys. We love to hear that you guys, if you like our show, or if you're like, hey, why'd you talk about X? Join in our discussion. Because that, is the whole point of a podcast, is to start a discussion and have a discussion.
Mhm.
So I hope to see you guys in our next episode next week. But as always, I am Hope Gooderl along with my co-host.
I'm Carter Sally.
We hope that you all have a great week and stay geeky, y'all. See ya.
See you guys later.